Miles Bryson had no need to wonder about the nature or origin of the hostile craft. He knew precisely what it was and what this meant for his world. The threat display screen showed the outline schematic of the enemy ship, but he knew without looking at the flashing display that it was the Virasex. 57 years ago, an unprecedented, pivotal event changed the trajectory of human history, when humanity had conclusively discovered that they were not alone in the cosmos. On a warm, sun-drenched, picturesque mid-June day, an alien vessel had landed on the lawn of the American White House. This craft was about 20 meters long, maybe half as wide at its widest point, shaped like an almond, with seamless gleaming metallic curves. Besides a low grumbling hum, there had been no outward indication of a propulsion system, hour matrix, hatch, or porthole on the craft. Anywhere one looked, only the ship's glossy exterior walls were visible, smooth, onyx-hued, and highly reflective. A few minutes past the afternoon, it descended, triggering none of the early warning radars, neither terrestrial nor orbital. Yet, there it hovered, motionless, a couple of meters from the ground, unresponsive to any stimuli or prompt. The lovely June afternoon had attracted even more tourists and visitors than was usual, even though the summer months gathered the most numerous crowds. Naturally, security was ramped up during those months, and the American security personnel were quick to react and surround the craft. Rapid response teams were activated to control the crowds, while more and heavier military assets arrived only a little while later to reinforce the officers. Media outlets and independent journalists were everywhere already, covering feel-good stories about visitors to their nation's capital. They were in profound shock at the opportunity to be the first to cover the story of the age. That day created mega-celebrities of many junior reporters. When the initial fear and panic had subsided, curiosity waxed. Media was permitted better access, although from a safe location. Minutes passed. The craft showed no sign of change, no movement, nor anything else one might expect from aliens' first contact with Earth. It simply hovered there, persisting with its drone-like hum. Every screen on the whole planet was plastered with images of the craft. Every talking head in every newsroom discussed, debated, and hypothesized about what ramifications this revelation held for humanity. Minutes turned into hours, and hours into days. Fascination and speculation, as well as confusion, ran rampant in Earth's population. Several instances of fatal hysteria broke out in various places, tragically costing hundreds of lives. On the third day, however, without warning or ceremony, the low grumbling hum just stopped. The gathered security and military forces tensed in silence. Camera operators zoomed in, and everyone held a collective breath. From the craft emerged a being, as if stepping through a shadow of the bottom of the ship. It was lowered to the ground. That would be the best description anyone can come up with, since anti-grav technology was unfathomable at the time. This creature stood not more than a meter tall. It had blue-green leathery skin, and it was clad in a simple off-white robe, which moved unnaturally. The garment seemed to be both extremely light and excessively heavy at the same time. One independent journalist, who only had a rather small following at the time, described the robe as moving in slow motion. The creature was bipedal, walking on legs and feet, which were configured much like that of a salamander. It had slender fingers like that of a Madagascar aye-aye. The head was larger, in proportion to its body, and the face was remarkably bird-like. The leathery skin covered every visible inch of the alien, no hint of feathers or hair. The only adornments of its face were wizened wrinkles framing its bright, large eyes and beak-like mouth. The alien had its arms spread as wide as it could, with the tiny hands and fingers splayed wide, in a gesture of non-violence. Hundreds of Earth's deadliest man-portable weapons were aimed at this diminutive being, yet it moved with calm and grace, some alien variation of a smile on its face. When its feet reached the ground, it took one small step forward. So very slowly, its left arm bent under the gaze of the terrified onlookers, until its finger touched one of the jewels which studded a subtly ornate necklace. The jewel it touched began to glow with a faint but visible light. Then the creature spoke. For a moment its native language could be heard, some form of highly complex system of chirps. Very quickly, however, an oddly synthetic voice was overlaid on top of its speech. The overlaid voice spoke in understandable but bizarrely broken English. Although there was not one report that the voiceover was any louder than just above conversational, people reported that they could perfectly hear it, even hundreds of meters away. It said,
"I have come to be here in peace and kind nice. I have like we no bad violence or having hate vigor. Please, please, please. You are have big general leaders to make it conversation with I, me, mine, us, we. Beg having with big much swallow, I am or having to make conversations talk with big general leaders. Most having warning urgent emergency time clock now."
When it had completed its perplexing speech, it just stood there. The same posture of nonviolence and same awkward smile on its face. Apparently, it had refused to acknowledge anyone it deemed to be of too low in rank. When addressed by those it didn't wish to speak to, it simply gave a tiny bow of its head and ignored them. It took several rounds of its rejections to communicate, when finally a couple of 4-star generals approached. It seemed to be sufficiently satisfied and communicated with them for about 20 minutes. No one, except the generals and the alien, could actually hear what was said by either party. Later, analysts determined that it had used some technology to completely block all sound vibrations from escaping the bubble of communication. At the end of the 20 minutes, the generals, looking like they were in a manic fury, rushed away. About 3 hours later, the chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff, several 4- and 5-star generals representing the different branches, the Secretary of Defense, and the American President, were in communication huddle with the alien, also in a deafened bubble. After that lengthy exchange, the alien reboarded its craft and took off, never to be seen again. For the last 50-odd years, almost every book written was in some way related to this incident. There were new academic majors created at every university and college on the planet to study one or another aspect of this strange encounter with alien life. In schoolhouses at virtually all levels, school-aged children watched the recording of the event and studied it every year. Every human on Earth was intimately aware of humanity's first, undeniable, public meeting with alien life. Major Miles Bryson was no exception. He too had studied this every year of his primary education. At university, he even considered majoring in xenobiological theory in hopes of studying alien life, before deciding on mechanical engineering and aeronautics, which, he figured, would be far more valuable for achieving his dream, being a space fighter pilot. However, since he was the commander of the test pilot wing of the XF-95 program, along with his top-secret clearance and need-to-know privilege, Major Bryson was briefed on the redacted content of the extraordinary meeting between the alien and the highest authorities of the American military. The alien species were called the Sklali, and that particular Sklali was named Cardicus. Both names were, of course, approximated transliterations. Cardicus had taken great pains to deliver a dire warning to the people of Earth. The dreaded Virasax Empire had turned its attention to the Sol system for the purpose of conquest, biological cleansing, and colonization. According to the alien Cardicus, the Virasax were amorphous amoeba-like beings, inhabiting and integrated with biomechanical suits. Their sense of self-superiority was intermixed with their apathy to life in any form, what humans would refer to as psychopathy. Generally reclusive and in all reports sedentary, they allowed neither interaction with other species nor any breach of their territory. All violations of their borders were met with sudden, overwhelming, and irresistible force. Every so often, they would seek to expand their region. The unfortunate systems they chose for colonization would then be presented with the Verisax fleets, containing innumerable biomechanical ships of devastating effectiveness. Most, when confronted by the mere possibility of the Verisax attention, would desert their planets as quickly as they could. Those who attempted to resist watched their forces rapidly, brutally, and efficiently eradicated. All life on the target system was then sadistically and completely exterminated, as the Verisax established their own colony and redrew their expansive borders. The Sklali High Council had dispatched Cartacus to make the perilous journey to Earth as an emissary of warning that the Verisax had targeted the Sol system in their latest round of expansion. Major Bryson was privy to all of this information. He also knew of the data crystal rod, which Cartacus had smuggled as a gift to the humans. The data rod contained incredible amounts of technological information, hundreds of years more advanced than what Earth had accomplished. Cartacus was expressly forbidden to share any such information, but nevertheless chose to do just that, knowing full well that, if caught, punishment would be the forfeit of its life. Clandestine nature of the data rod had not afforded Cartacus the opportunity to include any way of translating or deciphering the information, but instead banked on the instinctive cleverness and resourcefulness of humanity. Over the last 5 decades, humans had struggled tirelessly to glean any advancement they could, and hoped for the necessary time to adapt and implement them before the dreaded day of the Verisax arrival. Several of the XF-95's major systems were born from what could be deciphered from that data rod crystal.
Computer,
said Major Bryson, activating the onboard AI voice interface protocol. He never liked using verbal commands to operate his ship, preferring to do everything manually. It felt like cheating, like abdicating the skill of the pilot to the machine. Most of the younger pilots under his command loved using the voice interface, and a few used it almost exclusively. Right now, though, there was no time for anachronisms.
prepare message, priority 1 alpha, urgent, break, distribution all hands, break, message Verisax ship on sensors, break, extra Neptune orbit plus 40,000 clicks, break, vector 001, break, velocity approximately 37,000 kph, break, configuration, unknown.
He took a small moment before ordering the message sent. The sudden realization that this day was what they had all been dreading, but also preparing for, over the last 57 years, sunk in. He felt like an iceberg had just been dropped on top of him. He had imagined that he would possibly fight in the defense of Earth, but he never considered that his sole contribution would be to die giving Earth its one and only warning. So far, the Verisax craft had not indicated that it had spotted Sophia. The enhanced stealth profile was working better than the XF-95 team had dreamed. This proximity to Neptune must surely be helping too. As soon as he ordered the message sent, several powerful communications broadcast nodes would activate, completely shattering his stealth profile. The monstrous Verisax ship would spot him and kill him. The small moment he took was to prepare himself for this final act, then death.
Computer.
His voice was steady, to his relief.
Authorization passkey 1 Victor Alpha Alpha Oscar 269er 7 Hotel Bryson. Execute message.
The communication display had his message on its screen. Every box was green, meaning he had made no mistakes in formatting, yet it had not sent the message.
Computer, I say again, authorization passkey 1 Victor Alpha Alpha Oscar 269er 7 Hotel Bryson. Execute message.
Nothing happened again. Reflexively, Major Bryson extended his hand to manually punch in the execute message order when a female voice stopped him cold.
I am sorry, Miles. I cannot permit you to do that.
Thank you for joining on this journey through the vast expanse of adventure, imagination, and wonder. If you find this sort of narrative enjoyable, please consider liking, commenting, and of course subscribing. See you next time.